Thank you, Patrick, for taking the time to talk to us today. This is a video to help introduce you, Patrick Bayle, to the congregation more and explain more about your role as a hospitality and safety manager at Westminster Presbyterian Church. So, to start our conversation today, I'd like to just invite you to share with us more about your background and what led you to Westminster and this position.
Well, that begins with a little bit of my life story. I have lived experience with addiction and homelessness. And I was fortunate enough to be able to address that in 2003 and have been able to maintain sobriety since that date. What led me to this position was for the last 15 years, I have been in the service of our community members who experience homelessness, severe mental illness, and addiction. And I've had a variety of positions in a variety of environments, St. Stephen's Human Services, Mental Health Resources in St. Paul. I have a need to help people who experience the brutality of homelessness, because it is a very difficult way to live, and I don't think that we should treat our brothers and sisters in our society the way we do just because they can't plug into the economic grid. When I saw the job description, because I have so much history in downtown Minneapolis, I knew that they needed someone who could engage with that population of human beings, as well as a congregation and all the other moving parts that a big organization and a big church like Westminster has. I needed to be able to navigate sort of the business side of things and the engagement with the individuals that I wanted to provide service to. And we've been able to do a lot of really good work in a short period of time. I've been on the job about 6 weeks. I was able to provide shelter resources to many of the individuals who are sleeping on site. We've been able to assign some Hennepin County housing case managers to individuals that have volunteered to be referred. And we've also been able to reduce the amount of unhealthy behaviors and activity on the church grounds that were a concern. In this initial period, we've done well. And I think what I'd like to further do is to continue to communicate with the congregation about the nature of homelessness, what those solutions are. And Westminster already has a very robust social justice community that is doing great work with the various affordable housing options that they provide. So I'm not coming in here to change much. I'm coming in to join that effort and to communicate as much to the congregation and with the individuals that I'm serving, that there is a pathway out of that very difficult and trying circumstance that they might find themselves in.
Can you tell us more about some of the changes that you'd like to start to make and why you think they are important at this time?
I think one of the things that I'd like to do is just be able to provide context and education about the nature of the issue that some of our community members face. And I want to be really clear that they are our community members. Homelessness is an economic problem. And the solution to homelessness is always and forever housing. There are pathways to housing that have to be created and maintained, of course. There is the simple documentation process. And one of the things that I'm really grateful for is that this new program that Hennepin County started on November 1st provides case management so people can get a social security card, they can get the basic documents that they need in order to qualify for housing. Ongoing, what I would like to see is just a continued effort for the congregation to engage in the conversation. I'd like to be able to provide whatever access to that information that I can, and to be a conduit and an intermediary and a person that can walk between both these worlds and help help the individuals who experience this difficulty gain access to the folks who may not understand it as well, and who really genuinely want to help but don't know exactly what to do. There's often a lot of misconception about what is helpful to the individuals that we serve and what isn't. Many of those things, like providing food and giving clothing constantly to people who are sleeping outside, those are helpful in the moment, but they can also perpetuate the problem. What we want to do is get people in shelter, get them access to the services that they want, and of course that's a voluntary process. One of the most difficult aspects of this issue that we have to accept as community members, I think, is that not everyone can plug into a traditional life. Can we provide them with as much dignity and compassion and understanding as we can, and treat them as we would want to treat our brother or sister? Because this can happen to anyone. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. And that's, I think, the message I want to get out there, is that this is an economic problem, that a long-term illness, severe late onset mental illness. I've had examples in my life of people who were very successful career professionals who had late onset mental illness come on, and in 4 or 5 years were homeless on the streets, because the way our system is set up, it doesn't, if you can't contribute economically, you're not seen as worthy of housing in the system. And that's tough words, but it's the truth. And I'm not going to hold back from telling people the truth of the grid that we've set up. Not everybody can plug in.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, or anything you think we've missed?
I just want to add that I really appreciate the privilege of being given a position like this, because I see the service that I'm able to participate in as an honor and a privilege, to serve the dignity of other human beings, to provide hope where waking up on the concrete is a really tough way to live. And if I can give someone just a little bit of a notion that somebody sees you and somebody cares about you, that's a real honor and fills my soul, to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, I see you and I want to help. That's really the best part of my job. So, yeah.
Right. Thank you, Patrick, and thank you for taking the time to share with us today.
You're welcome.